This is Jeff Mucci at RCR Wireless News at the 2014 CCA event with Sue Monahan, who's CEO of the Small Cell Forum, and Andy Germano, who's VP of Americas for Small Cell Forum. Thanks for joining us. Sue, you gave a presentation this morning to the rural carriers. Talk about some of your small cell initiatives with the rural carriers.
We came here to develop our partnership further with CCA, and we're trying to share the news of our release program and find out how we can get them more involved in our program and get their requirements into our rural release.
So tell us a bit about your background. You're CEO of the Small Cell Forum. You came on board last month. What's your background, and kind of what do you see as the vision for Small Cell Forum going forward?
My background is mainly in engineering. I started with Bellcore in 1990. I have a BS in computer science, and I've worked for several of the Bell companies back in the day. And then I worked since 2002 for the GSMA, running their North American technical working groups. And I'm going to continue in that capacity and run the Small Cell Forum as well. So my focus with the forum is going to be on executive level carrier engagement and the partnership developments mainly, and also continuing the momentum we have going with the release program.
Well, going back to your session this morning, can you maybe share with us some of the milestones you hope to see with the rural carriers?
Yes, we have released several releases, and we haven't set a date yet for our rural release, but it will be probably toward the end of the year. And so we would like to work closely with the CCA and rural carriers to get the operator requirements fed into those requirements for that release. So we have an MOU in place with CCA right now, and so we're trying to further develop that partnership and get their input, because the more operator input we have into the requirements going forward, the better, more informed requirements we have that go into standards that they'll have to deploy someday.
And Andy, where are we at in the U.S. with respect to small cell deployments?
With small cell deployments, we've certainly seen all the major operators deploying with AT&T's microcell and Verizon's extender, and Sprint with their small cell technology. So it started out about 3 or 4 years ago with a huge deployments into residential, where we're seeing just the coverage play. You have people that have 1 bar, 2 bar coverage in their home. They're getting a lot of drop calls. They put a femtocell in, solves the problem for coverage. Then over the past year, we're starting to see deployments now in the urban environment, where we're seeing the large operators again, like AT&T and Verizon and Sprint, using small cells in outdoor networks for capacity offloading. And so these are cells in urban areas that are providing the huge need in the growth and capacity being caused by all the smartphone data applications, YouTube, Facebook, consuming so much data near universities, coffee shops. And so we did a study about 2 years ago that showed with 3G, with only 4 small cells per macro cell, you can offload 50% of the traffic. And with that 50% traffic offload, that means a 350% user experience improvement for everybody in the macro cell. So we just redid the study in our release 2 for LTE, and it's a similar results. 4 small cells offloads 50% of the traffic, and it's a 350% user experience improvement. And it's actually a 500% user experience improvement for everybody in the small cell. Everybody in the macro gets 350, so it's just a huge benefit for capacity offload. Now, what we're focused on, as Sue is saying, is for rural applications. We really want to get the input from the rural regional operators so that we can give the same type of information to help all the operators with their deployments. So right now at www.scf.io, there's 100 documents. There's 40 documents on residential deployments. There's another 30 documents on enterprise deployments. We just released 20 documents on urban deployments. In June, we'll have another family of documents for urban, and hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have a whole family of documents for rural type of small cell deployments.
When you say documents, what kind of documents are they? Who would be the user of those documents? What are they going to find in those documents?
Yeah, it's really a suite of documents. The original concept behind the release program was a cookbook for operators. Everything you need to know about residential, everything you need to know about enterprise small cell deployments. And so the documents that we have are a business case, because operators tell us, what kind of documents they want to see. The first thing they want to see is a business case. Then they want to see network architecture. How is the the small cell connected to the core network, is connected to the different pieces of whether it's the billing system, customer care. So we've got a network architecture document. We also have a backhaul document. We've got deployment guidelines documents. So all the issues of small cells, whether you're putting it on a traditional tower, the side of a building, a light post on top of an old phone booth. I mean, all these deployment type of scenarios. So we've got a number of documents like that. We've got regulatory documents. We've got what other documents are you thinking of from there? Just a whole slew of documents really that describe the full deployment scenario.